As sure as the sunrise over the Rio Grande, the illegal crossings along Texas's 1,250-mile border with Mexico go up. Spring is the season when thousands of migrants seek entry into the United States, not through official ports, but by crossing the river. Policing the border is primarily a federal responsibility, but increasingly, the state of Texas is stepping into immigration enforcement with a $3 billion effort using the Texas National Guard. Governor Greg Abbott says it's because Washington isn't getting the job done.
The Biden administration has completely abdicated its responsibility to secure the border.
The political blowback against Abbott's massive border security program, dubbed Operation Lone Star, is coming from all the expected places: advocacy groups and Democrats.
I understand that it's costing the state taxpayers about $2.5 million a week.
But it's also coming from within the ranks of the National Guard.
And then for us to be put down here as political pawns for an agenda by the governor, it's unfortunate. It's disgraceful to what they're doing to the service members.
Newsy spoke with a number of actively deployed Texas National Guard soldiers who all agreed to speak only under the condition of anonymity because they fear being retaliated against for speaking out. According to Texas military law, soldiers who speak their minds can be prosecuted. If any use contemptuous words against a governor, they shall be punished as a court-martial directs. Can you just describe how much trouble you get in if I put your face on camera?
Essentially, my career will be over.
The biggest portion, almost $1.4 billion, goes to the governor's office alone for state-sponsored border wall and prosecutions of migrant trespassing on private property. The state's Department of Public Safety gets $942 million for expanded trooper missions, and the Texas Military Department that oversees the National Guard got more than $411 million. That is paid for the deployment of 10,000 Texas National Guard from El Paso to Brownsville.
It didn't seem like it was very well planned, which it was not. And there's still questions about how effective, again, with the job that we're doing, how effective it is for us to be down here.
We heard the same kinds of complaints from everyone we spoke to. They all mobilized on short notice for a mission they thought would be short-term. But that mission has dragged on, far beyond what they expected. In this man's case, it's been 6 months, with 6 months still to go.
Looks like it's going to be a year to stand on the border and not effectively turn anyone around. Doesn't make sense.
And here's why that matters. Because the federal government is not helping pay for Operation Lone Star, Guard soldiers are considered temporary state employees. And that means they don't get federal benefits they'd normally receive.
But on the state active duty side, you don't get any retirement points for a pension.
Retired Command Sergeant Major Jason Featherston was the highest-ranking non-commissioned officer in the Texas Military Department. He says he's just as upset as these service members and blames the governor and politics.
I think this is definitely a $3 billion campaign ad.
In 2021, the Army Times reported 4 soldiers took their lives by suicide after the Texas Military Department refused some their hardship leave requests. Some faced financial and family pressures or missed job opportunities. Featherston says those suicides moved him to speak.
Whenever you're not focused on the soldier, bad things happen. You just add another level of stress.
Along with the economic hardship, the soldiers we spoke to just don't see the point of the mission. As described by the soldiers themselves and outlined at a Texas State Senate committee hearing on border security, the powers of the deployed Guard are limited. They can't detain migrants or arrest them. That's the jurisdiction of U.S. Border Patrol. And unless state troopers are with the Guard on private ranches to round up migrants for trespassing, they are empowered to do little else than observe, report, or engage in construction work.
It's a lot of time either at a hotel or sitting at a point on somewhere on the border, watching for the possibility of someone crossing the border.
And in your time, wherever you're posted, what have you seen?
I have seen apprehensions from Border Patrol. I have not been involved in any apprehensions myself, and I would say that that would be true for most of the guardsmen that are down here.
The governor's office declined Newsy's request for a direct on-camera interview about Operation Lone Star, so we caught up with him at an event in the Rio Grande Valley.
We've learned that it's costing taxpayers roughly $2.5 million per week to keep National Guard soldiers deployed per your order. I've spoken with dozens who feel that their presence down here or across the border is nothing more than a show. Do you think that's a good use of taxpayer dollars?
You may visit with dozens of people. I have been on the border with our National Guard multiple times, and I've visited with hundreds, if not thousands of them. And they tell me, sir, we appreciate your leadership.
But the soldiers we spoke to didn't appreciate it at all.
This whole, deployment is pretty much pointless, and we're just here pretty much just for Abbott, to get his numbers in for election.
The mission is under new command. The new adjutant general has pledged to fix problems with pay, living quarters, equipment, and most of all, morale.
Is there a universal opinion about the efficacy of your time down here?
It's a waste of time for us to be down here, especially when we were pulled from civilian jobs, schools.
Despite the concerns of Guard members, Operation Lone Star and its costs aren't ending anytime soon. The Texas Military Department just got an additional $465 million, all reallocated from other Texas state agencies, to continue at its current pace, at least until this fall.
John Moan joins us live tonight from Houston. John, you pointed out here Texans pay more than $2 million per week. One soldier called it pointless. Does the governor's office point to any actual data to prove it's working?
Yeah, the governor's office is eager to say that this Operation Lone Star has resulted in close to 240,000 migrant apprehensions, 14,000 arrests, and millions of doses of fentanyl seized. However, when those numbers were scrutinized by our cohorts over at ProPublica, Marshall Project, and Texas Tribune, the story that they reported concluded that they couldn't verify many of those statistics, to the point when they pushed back on the Department of Public Safety, DPS had to recategorize many of the arrests claimed and erase thousands off the books on those statistics. Jason.
Okay. So we know Abbott, he likes to get tough, and he likes to be perceived as tough. We've seen other actions by him, imposing those inspections on trucks that were coming over the border. There were the backlog, supply chain issues. Eventually, he relented on that. He got some concessions for Mexico. But the criticism here is that maybe he's using taxpayer dollars to further his own immigration agenda and campaign. Politically, is it popular?
Look, if you're farther away from the river and you only see this through a television set, yeah, it's going to be popular. But the closer you are to the river and you depend on trade from Mexico and trade going into Mexico as your livelihood, well, anywhere from $4 to $9 billion of GDP, cited by some, was erased off the books. And it caused a lot of stress for people in the freight forwarding business and in the produce business. So around there, it got a lot of flack, even from the Texas Produce Association, pushing back on the governor, saying, do something about this fast. And when pushed, DPS said of its enhanced inspections didn't result in any fines beyond what Customs and Border Protection would get at the port of entry. Chance?
And we know the federal government usually says, listen, this is our domain. But Abbott, he contends, if I don't do this, we have an open border. It is my job. We are a border state. I have to do this. Is the Biden administration maybe willing to step up enforcement, making people like Abbott more comfortable to rely on their enforcement?
Well, this is always about framing. For the record, the border isn't open, even if people claim it is. People are, the law is enforced. If you cross over the river and you don't present yourself at a port of entry, you were detained, you were processed, and then you're given a court date. As far as the Biden administration is concerned, about a month ago, they had a big, teleconference telling everyone in the media that they were going to be surging personnel in the anticipation of lifting Title 42 to deal with the perceived surge of people coming over, as well as giving local communities the resources needed and NGOs to handle people who will be, perhaps crossing by the thousands and needing help to get to their eventual destination somewhere in the United States. Chance?